Welcome back to The Watch. And we want to talk a little bit about the idea of hate watching, if it is good or if it is bad. And to kick us off, Tyrant, what are your thoughts on this?
I do not think it is a good thing to hate watch something because line goes up and that's all the executives see. And that's why you get season 2s of terrible, 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 terrible shows.
Yes. The thing is, though, I think there's some caveats to that where people try and apply it across the board. Nathan, your thoughts?
They're mixed. I think it goes to an extent where everyone's just on the bandwagon, like Tyrant said, the line goes up. But also, I feel like things should be called out when the law's been broken enough, when it's a grievous enough crime that it hasn't. Like I think of
But is that hate watching though?
Well, I think this is the distinction that needs to be made.
True, yeah.
I think people need to realize that there should be a difference between hate watching versus hate reviewing. What we do here on Night's Watch, not because we necessarily want to, but we hate review a lot of stuff because so much of the crap that's being put out is just dog crap. Okay? But I am of the strong opinion that hate reviewing does not benefit these shows at all. The amount of people who've been able to warn away from watching this dog crap is more than the people we might have inadvertently caused them to be interested enough to hate watch it.
I agree, but the hate watching is different to hate reviewing because
Yes.
people hate watch things, and that is a subscription or money or whatever that's all the executives see. They just see when someone watches it, whether it's a positive or negative watch, doesn't matter. It's a watch.
It does depend on how they watch it. I mean, if they're just happen to be sailing the high seas while watching it, and on a boat, of course, yeah, and you have the internet connection and the thing.
Yes, then I am all for that.
Like it's very, very comfortable because the water, waves, and
That's fine. I don't see a problem with that.
there is a bit more to say about that. They're happy for any views, even if they're hate views and everything. But I want to, before I jump onto sharing my thoughts on that, the idea of just hate watching generally, I actually don't fully understand because personally, if I wasn't reviewing this dog crap, I would not be watching it. I don't know, like, why would you put yourself through this pain?
Yeah,
I mean, maybe I would, out of morbid curiosity.
Well, I agree with that. There's barely any shows. Once I know that they're terrible, I just don't watch them. Like She-Hulk. Like,
Yes.
I know it's going to be bad, so why would I subject myself to that? However, I just thought of an example where I did pretty much hate watch it, and that was Kenobi. I was so angry with that show that I watched it through to the end. You get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, that scab had healed over, but now you just opened it right up again. No, that's true. And I think it does depend on, because like with She-Hulk, for example, we like Marvel, but not to the extent where they just like...
It might be proportional to how much you care about the specific thing.
Like it's like a bevel. Like, if you care a little bit, you might watch it. If you don't care much, I don't know. It's the more you love that thing, the more you're likely to hate watch it, I think.
I think you're right, because there's one show that I have to watch just out of my sheer morbid curiosity. I have to see how far they desecrate everything. That's The Wheel of Time. Like
I thought you were going to say Willow.
No.
I kind of, I hate that show. It's a terrible show, but it's, fun in a weird sort of way. A terrible sort of way.
Is a hate watch a fun, when it's just so bad it's fun? Because I don't consider that necessarily a hate watch.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider that a hate watch. Like, when I was watching Kenobi, I was genuinely just furious.
Seething at the core. Yeah.
Like,
That's me watching Wheel of Time, the show, the book, because I have such love for the books, and I need to know how much they've desecrated something. Isn't that disgusting? I feel like that's a type of abusive, manipulative, psychological tactic that, though, there's a level, though, because I think it gets to a point where you get so offended by what they did to it that you then check out.
Yeah.
Because I think I would have checked out of Wheel of Time Season 1, perhaps, after episode 5.
Wow, there's just so many bad shows. I'm just, thinking of all these shows. It's like every single time there's something to point to that you hate watched.
But that is the morbid curiosity thing where you just need to see how bad it is. But usually my experience with it is that once you've seen how bad it is, you don't necessarily watch the whole thing unless you've just, now I got to see. But an interesting thing, right?
Well, for me, if I use Kenobi as an example, I had to watch to the end because the end was the really, really important part, and I wanted to make sure that they didn't destroy. They did, of course, but yeah.
I'm just having thoughts now because you're right. Like the reason why I watched the end of Konoha because I want to know, do they retcon anything?
Yeah.
What changes? Where with like Wheel of Time, for example, you want to see the adaptation to it. There's different levels of like, okay, why am I watching this? Am I watching this because they're going to change something, or are they doing a different adaptation to it?
Like another one that comes to mind is Cowboy Bebop, because I love the original anime of Cowboy Bebop, and I kind of like the aesthetic that they sort of went with in the Netflix show. I didn't like any of the casting. I didn't like anything they were doing. And when I watched the first episode, I couldn't even hate watch the rest of it. It's like
that was the same with us. We tried to review Cowboy Bebop and we couldn't get past the first episode.
I feel like you get to a point where you're just like, I know this goes nowhere good. This is just wholly negative. There's no point to this. I feel like Velma's at that point as well. Gee.
Well, there's the other kind of side to the coin, I think, where, for instance, it's hard for me to gauge exactly how much I would watch something if I wasn't reviewing. There's so much content that I know I just wouldn't watch at all, and it's a lot of the Marvel schlock crap. And there's even stuff that I haven't even bothered to this day, like Hawkeye. Haven't even watched Hawkeye. I think I watched the first 2 episodes and then
there's nothing there.
And Moon Knight as well. I didn't finish Moon Knight, and there might even be another Marvel show. Just I don't give a crap. Oh, I haven't even finished the Turtles. Like, like when I heard that there's this hand,
you didn't miss anything.
Like forming out of the Earth's crust, I was like, oh really? Because I didn't finish it.
Yeah, you didn't miss anything.
You didn't miss anything. It only got worse.
And so there's all those that like, and these are ones that usually I wouldn't even. Maybe I'd try the first, just morbid curiosity, see how bad it is there potential, and check out. But there's a lot I wouldn't even bother. The other example is He-Man, Masters of the Universe,
right?
Yeah.
where a lot of people needed to see like the first season.
Yeah.
And He-Man, soft spot for me.
I felt like it was more people were upset with everything around it, so they wanted to check for themselves.
But the thing is, though, the first. So it was 2 parts. I always think of season 1, season 2, but it was really part 1 and part 2.
Yep.
Part 1 got a decent amount of views because of the, I guess, controversy and stuff.
And then
we reviewed it.
The second part, season 2, whatever.
Flatlined completely.
Which it deserved.
Which it
very
deserved.
rightly, yes.
And so when people say, you're all hate watching it, giving it a boost, and I think the Velma is falling into this one, I'm thinking, really, wait until season 2.
I agree, but if that was their plan out the gate, it kind of worked.
If it's their plan, they're retarded.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, do we really have to say that? Yeah.
But there are some people unironically saying that they made Velma this bad on purpose to try and profit off of the hate watching. And I disagree with that sentiment because, you know, the result of people hate watching it is them saying, this is complete dog crap, don't waste your time. Okay, they don't promote it, and especially for hate reviewing, like we end up doing. When I say we with Velma, you guys.
So a good kind of wrench into this is, what about Rings of Power? Let's talk about Rings of Power, because Rings of Power was terrible.
Yes,
but it genuinely got, relatively speaking, if we take away like the price and everything that Amazon did, it got reasonable numbers. Like it was doing big numbers.
Actually, it
relatively
did so much less than House of the Dragons when you take into account their because they have like direct cable views as well that don't get put into the equations and stuff. And even without that, which should be large numbers, House of Dragons was on par or even beating it.
Okay, what I mean is like any other show would dream of those type of numbers. Like they were big numbers. Obviously, for spending like $1 billion, no, not
it was one of the greatest flops in.
But relatively speaking, it did reasonable numbers, and a lot of people reviewed that and said it was terrible. A lot of Tolkien fans were very upset at it, but it still did pretty good numbers consistently throughout, barring like the first or 2 episodes where there's a giant drop, which happens with most shows.
The numbers are difficult to know exactly because they don't publish the numbers. All they did was like, oh, the this many viewers in the first few episodes,
100 billion watched,
and then they didn't say spit on everything else. And so I actually suspect the views of the later episodes are far lower than they're trying to claim. But I know in retrospect, like if Velma got Rings of Power numbers, that would be,
Massive, yes.
yeah.
yes.
But I do think for the type of show, especially for the budget, as you say, it actually underperformed insanely.
Yes,
But because it was such high budget, people just needed, a lot of people like us needed to see, because that's one I would have to watch as well. Even if I wasn't reviewing, I'd probably end up hate watching because I would need to see what did they make out of that budget, you
Right,
know?
okay, but then it comes to the logical point of that is like, okay, what about season 2?
Yeah.
Because you know
I
how
would probably, if I wasn't reviewing it, I'd probably still hate watch Lord of the Rings.
Exactly.
Probably
So-
for the same Kenobi reasons you. Lord of the Rings is special. I need to...
So when you say like you can't bank on hate watching, I mean,
There's a lot of people who aren't that invested that are totally checked out of Rings of Power because of how crap it was.
but there are also a lot of normies who don't know
Yeah.
anything who are kind of like it.
I was
I am not one of
scared
them,
at
let's be
how many people in the group were like, it wasn't that bad. It was pretty good. It looked nice. And I had to be... I'm not at work right now.
See, I'm not like...
I know.
I had family members who were like, Rings of Power is great. I'm like, really? Because, a boat looks up and a rock looks down.
That's what I
and I
thought.
just got to start going through the list. And they're just like...
And this happens.
But then I was like, and I'd say to them, it's okay to like crap, and they still get upset with me. It's like, I like crap. But because people want to think the things they like are good anyway. Yeah.
This happens a lot.
My family doesn't like me talking about films.
With Avatar, like I said when we did the review,
Yeah.
normies are going to love this. And they did. Mm-hmm. And I remember when Kenobi came out because I was very, very upset. I even put it to a poll on my channel, or I can't remember, and people loved it, which made me furious. But
Really?
Yeah, people.
I thought
People
the
loved it.
sentiment of Kenobi was more negative overall.
Nope.
People liked it.
Oh,
I know people who
Kenobi
openly
was-
disagreed. And I was like, watch my video.
Kenobi is such uniquely special crap.
And there are people who like Rings of Power.
I think this is the sadder news. Like, it's not hate watching. It's the
People
fact
just
that,
like it.
like,
But,
they
like,
enjoyed it.
Oh, Rings of Power, I can kind of see how people get fooled because the high budget, pretty
The
visuals.
aesthetic of it, it's
Yeah.
very Peter Jackson.
If you don't think about it, it's a journey.
Oh my goodness, it's sad how much these companies can profit off of sheer dog crap. Like Kenobi and Rings of
It's
Power.
so
But they didn't profit
depressing.
off Rings of Power, though. That's the satisfying thing.
Like Halo's another one. Halo, I feel like people hate watch that because right out the
Okay.
gate it was terrible.
This is the reality, though. Even if they can benefit off of certain levels of hate watching, okay? Hate watching is nowhere near comparable to watching a show because you enjoy it, okay?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And so I think you can't stop hate watching. People have their morbid curiosity. There's a lot of shows that I purposely don't watch out of spite, probably more than the average normie, right? But even then, we've found examples for all of us that there are shows that we despise that we end up watching. And I don't think people should be shamed for that because people have a right to just see the dumpster fire for themselves.
I agree. But then there's also the context of like, if you do that, you're most likely to get more of that.
Not necessarily, because as I said, it's not comparable to actually watching a show because you like it. Because people who hate watch it, they're not going to recommend it. They're not going to I have not watched Kenobi a second time, nor would I ever friggin' want to. Same with Wheel of Time, I would never watch again. But because I'm reviewing season 2, as a reviewer, I would need to watch
Season 1 again.
Season 1 again, just for the refresher. But
I'm sick on those days, just letting you know.
But I also
wish
think
I
it's
was.
like legacy stuff as well. So like with the older films and TV that I loved, I'll buy the Blu-ray. I'll talk about it. I'll buy the merch. Like now, I say to my friends and family, don't buy me like Star Wars merch ever. But if you do, no sequel stuff. Never ever sequel
This is
stuff.
a very good point.
I don't want any Grogu, no Mando stuff. Okay, one pair of socks is
You
enough.
don't want any Ray figures?
No,
I'll get you one for your
no.
birthday.
I don't want any of that stuff. So I feel like
I get a good
Especially-
discount. You want 2 of them? They're super cheap, man.
they're giving them away.
we actually went. We looked through Ebook Games a few days ago, and we saw Raver, and it was discounted. Like the other action figures costed more, and it was so funny.
Luke was like $35, and Reva was 15.
15 discounted down to it was funny. So like, you make your money off of views, maybe in business sense, but also there's the merchandising, sequels, prequels. Like, who's going to watch a Raver TV show?
Exactly. This is the thing, and this is such a good point.
The lightsaber. Did you know about that? They tried to do. I don't know why Hasbro or whoever's making the lightsabers does like Kickstarters. They do like these projects where they try and fund them. It's like you're a multi-million-dollar company. I guess to gauge interest. But they did a Reva one, and it didn't even reach like that.
Yeah.
So this is such a good point, because hate watching gives the people none of that. Might think, hey, it's gotten us great views, right? But it doesn't have follow-up views. It doesn't have recommended views. People who hate watch are never going to buy merchandise and stuff like that. And as a result, shows that get hate watched die in the long run. And I will never... I don't even want my kids to watch, let alone recommend, Kenobi, the Star Wars sequels, and Rings of Power, and Wheel of Time dog crap, right? Shows that actually have legacy, the ones that are good, are shows that you pass on. For instance, when my kids are old enough, of course old enough, I want them to experience the story of the King Viserys in House of the Dragon. It is an uplifting, ennobling story of a man who sacrificed everything to keep the peace in his realm and his family, and it's something that uplifts you, that almost inspires. These are the stories that last and you pass on, and that's why Velma, Halo, Kenobi, Rings of Power, they're gonna die and be only remembered in the footnote of history as the astounding piece of crap that they were. And one of the ways that I guess people will remember them as the astounding piece, they experience themselves. They hate watched it and they know it's bad, and then they pass on the truth about it. And for that sense, I'm kind of glad for hate watching then. I want people to remember and know these pieces of crap as the pieces of crap that they are.
So why do you think they keep making them? Because there is a really good example. There's a really good example that we were looking at this morning. So the new National Treasure TV show. I really like the National Treasure movies with Nicolas Cage. They're fun movies, and I remember watching them as a kid. They've made the new one, and basically they put up the trailer on Disney+. It has something like 2 million views, something like that. How many likes do you think it has?
2 million views? 5,000.
18.
18.
18. Now, I don't have because we're on the work computers, I don't have the dislike installed, so I don't know how many dislikes. But as an executive at the top, why would you go through with putting that out? People obviously don't want it, so why do they keep doing it? Like the Rings of Power. You saw the backlash to that, but they just steamrolled ahead. They keep doing. There has to be a concerted push of like, we want to make bad content.
Well,
Because
not intentionally.
either that or you are a brainlet.
That's it. You got that. That's what it is. They're incompetent and they don't know how to make good content, and they're ideologues that are more determined to push out a message. Velma is a great example.
I agree with the people in like management levels, but I'm talking the people who are making decisions up at the top. They are old men, generally
Not
speaking.
all.
Old people,
I mean,
generally who aren't on social media, who just want money. They don't care about messaging
Okay,
or
it
anything. They
depends.
just want money.
Not with Disney. The guy at the top is fully on board with it. Is it Iger now?
Yeah, Iger.
Because he got rid of Chapek. The message and the propaganda he put in place before he left. And he wants to go into politics even. This is
I agree,
all intentional with him.
But I feel like, especially for him, that's a luxury, and he is all about money when it comes down to it. Because he was the guy who was brought in 40 years ago or something like that to fix Disney when it was on, it was having some issues back then.
Nah, he's more creatively bankrupt and he's more ideologically motivated than money. And it's ruining Disney as well. But that's why Disney is the last to pay attention. But we are seeing people change and try and learn from it. Like Warner Brothers have been trying to clean house a bit and actually get back to making good content.
Yep.
Not good signs still, but they have, they cancelled the
I'm not
Batgirl.
I'm not interested.
But hang on. Warner Brothers, they own HBO, right?
Yeah.
And they did give us House of the Dragon. Okay?
They also got rid of Henry Cavill.
They did. They made some dumb things as well. Don't get me wrong, but there are examples of companies starting to finally wake up.
They're still going through.
They're
with
still
the Flash
going because,
movie.
because they're idiots.
What?
Incompetence, did I mention that? Right? And it'll take a while for it to fully, I guess, pass through where all the incompetent writers and ideologues and everything finally get flushed out. But Velma is a good example. The creator, Mindy, whatever her name is,
Yeah, Mindy.
she unironically, I can guarantee she thinks it's great. She thinks it's funny and hilarious, and it's a double-edged sword because it's also spiteful on purpose. She did it.
Like I was gonna say, I'm sure she did a lot of that on purpose.
Exactly. She did it to piss off the chuds, right? But they unironically think that's a win, and they're in their bubble that they think the audience that would appreciate, owning the chuds is enough of an audience to make it successful, which it isn't. Okay.
Well, it's so bad. Even people who agree with her hate it because it's like it reflects
it's
badly on them.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. We are in new realms of incompetence and stupidity. Like, I didn't think we could reach this low, but every time we think we've hit the bottom of the barrel, we find out it keeps going because they keep making things that are even worse. But what's amazing, when you actually look at the people making it, like the creators of She-Hulk, they unironically think it's brilliant, which is amazing. But that's why it's not on purpose. They actually think they're making quality stuff because they're that incompetent. And this is the thing, right?
I agree with you for the people who are making these things, but I feel like the people who are higher up, they have to know that these things aren't going well. They're not going, like, when you see the response to a lot of these things, they can't, they're just sitting there going, these are all Russian bots.
Well, this is the thing. The higher ups, right, they actually are not creative people. They don't know how to write good stuff. And so as a result, when they get, like, they're not even good reviewers most of the time. They're I don't know, accountants or other people. But this has been a problem in Hollywood a lot of the time.
They wouldn't be able to differentiate between good content. I do believe that.
Corporate interests come in and say we need this, and that at the expense of story. And that's been like that in Hollywood for ages. Like, I remember hearing a story of someone writing a Superman script, and corporate comes in and says, we need the bad guy to look like a spider. We need this and these arbitrary demands were so retarded, but we need it because that's how they felt they could monetize everything like that. And how could you make a good story with this type of control? But that's been the state of Hollywood for ages. And so I feel the answer is these people who are in the higher ups, they don't know how to make good crap either.
I agree, but they look at the numbers. That's what they can do. And when they see, for example, a Rings of Power, 10 million views in a couple of days and 3 million dislikes or something. I don't know the exact numbers. I can't remember. But they have to sit there and look at this and go, this is not going to end well.
Eventually, I think they're starting to see it. But on the other flip side, they always get the wrong answers. For instance, right? Disney, when Spider-Man Far From... No Way Home comes out.
Yeah.
I have a review on it. I actually didn't like it as many as most people, but it did really well, right?
Yeah.
And what Disney clearly got from that, and it's wrong, is cameos. Cameos will make a movie. Not a well-written thing with good characterizations and motivate and things that keep you suspended, and seeing true respect given to legacy characters like Tobey Maguire and other Spider-Man and stuff, right? That's what they should have gotten from that. But they're so retarded and corporate-minded, they think cameos. They want to get the cheapest, easiest wins. And they're like, if we throw in cameos in all our other films, that'll make it as successful. And they're that dumb.
Well, it's kind of half right. It's half right. The cameo is what is memorable. But you want it, especially people who grew up with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, you want to go see him again. You do. That is the base level stuff. But it's also
how it's executed.
Exactly. So I agree that they take the wrong. They definitely take the wrong.
Because the reason why I like the cameos is because the story was good in the original, and so I want more of that original story.
Yeah, exactly.
Where if it's just a cameo and it's the same story that you're getting from the last movie, then I'm not going to be interested.
And they do this so often. For instance, the other thing that Disney learnt recently, and they just screwed up entirely. Mandalorian did well the first season, and they didn't actually look at, it did well because of X, Y, Z and everything. I have issues with Mandalorian, but I did enjoy the first season, okay? Instead of figuring out what made it enjoyable, their thing was, TV series do better than movies. Let's just splurge TV series on Disney+.
I don't think it was that. I think the movies
that was the result. Well, exactly. They thought movies did crap, TV series do good, and then they just splurge out TV series on Disney+. And the content production went into overdrive where it was speed of release, and as a result, all of them were such dog crap that they were just thrown out.
Well,
They learn the wrong things, but they think, oh, TV series are good. I feel, again, it's because the actual higher-ups, they don't know how to figure out why something is good. They just look at other kind of corporate things that they perceive, and they interpret it falsely, and they're like cameos or TV series instead of focusing on actual quality.
The sequels are a good example of hate watching because The Force Awakens came out. I personally wasn't that into it, especially the ending, but a lot of people, they weren't negative on it. They were overly, it's fine type of deal. You know what I mean?
So one of the best quotes for Force Awakens that I had is like, if this was the worst of the sequels, the sequels might be okay. That's like someone who so I know a writer who watched that was his interpretation of The Force Awakens. Like, look, if it's the worst of what we're going to get, we might actually get a good things. Unfortunately, it was still bad, and it was the best of what they gave us.
But relatively speaking, most people weren't too furious with it. They were like, this is fine.
Yes.
Then The Last Jedi came along.
Yes.
And that was apocalyptic, basically. Then you have The Rise of Skywalker, which was even worse.
Yes.
And a lot of people watched that. Now, obviously not as much as The Force Awakens, but there was definitely still millions of people watching The Rise of Skywalker.
It's got the certain legacy characters that they were desperate to see again and stuff. Because like, what's really interesting...
Who exactly? What legacy characters exactly, Shad?
Well, that was Han Solo and Luke Skywalker, and that people wanted to see Leia. And
Oh, yeah, but Leia was barely in it.
oh, don't get me wrong. I know that was the promise that
Ian
they didn't deliver.
McDermott, but somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah, I know. They didn't deliver. But what's really interesting, when you take away those jangling keys in Star Wars, no one gives a crap. What is the example I'm talking about?
I don't want to talk about it. But
Andor.
Yes. Yeah.
Andor's without anything that truly hooks actual fans in, they don't give a crap about Star Wars anymore.
What are your thoughts on Andor, Nathan?
I
Talk about it for a
didn't
long
get
time.
past the first episode. I also think of like Disneyland and the Star Wars land they have there. I have no inkling to go there.
Because it's all based on sequels.
It's all sequels. It's all First Order. It's all nothing. No care. There's going to be Rey doing a thing. The same with the hotel thingy. No care for it. Don't care for any of it.
And so when there's not that kind of hook, right? People don't even bother hate watching it, and their true apathy for what's being made and these franchises do come to the forefront.
Well, that's why they steal these franchises, and that's why they have to use them. Because
they lack the talent.
Who's going to watch an animated show by Mindy Kaling about some random crap? No, but then when you say it's Scooby-Doo, it's like, hey, I watched Scooby-Doo. You've watched Scooby-Doo. My parents have watched Scooby-Doo. Your parents watched. Everybody's watched Scooby-Doo, and you're going to ruin that. Okay, we're going to have some problems here.
Yeah, and it comes down to the fact that they lack the talent to make anything new,
But
and
it
they
works.
need only in the short run, and that those hate views, right? Like I said, are going to stand as the condemnation because no one's going to recommend it, and it'll be remembered from those hate watchers as the piece of crap that it was.
I think hate views can only go down. You have that spike and
that is
peak,
true.
and then from there it just goes down. So they'll have that first number to show the execs, but after that, it's just always going to be dropping.
I agree, but I still think people shouldn't hate watch, and I like. It's one of those things where you get into the realm. We review things.
We hate review.
We hate review.
And
But,
again,
okay,
it's a different thing. That's
There
what
are
I'm-
things we like The Last of Us. So far, there's something to talk about with that too. The Last of Us so far is relatively good, but season 2 is going to adapt the second game. Yeah, that's a whole can of worms.
And then what's season 3 going to do, huh? Game of Thrones season 8? Anyone?
That's if anybody's left after the second season.
True.
Like, Last of Us is an interesting topic because if they're confirming that that's going to go the exact way that we all are suspecting it's going,
Yep.
I'm almost tempted to just stop reviewing it now.
You say that. Views go up.
I don't know. There's less interest in Last of Us. We'll see.
See, when we get to second season, I think that'll be the opposite.
Well, yeah, because I do feel, like I already mentioned this, hate reviewing actually performs an important service that we get less people to watch it than we might inadvertently end up encouraging to watch it. And there's so many people say, thank you for watching it so I don't have to, or they say, I watched the review and not the show because the review is actually better than the show. And so they hate reviewing across the board from all the people doing it. They're doing good service. Keep it up.
You're doing God's work.
But it is not the same as just plain hate watching. So with hate watching, like you're saying, it's interesting. There are a lot of shows that I wouldn't have bothered watching at all if I wasn't reviewing.
Yep.
And there's even shows that we don't even bother reviewing because it's so bad. Like we jumped ship with Cowboy Bebop, and did we even try and review Moon Knight episode 1 or 2? I can't even remember.
No.
And then if I wasn't reviewing, wouldn't bother watching so much of that crap. Like I would never have watched a few episodes of Velma if I wasn't.
I probably would have
wanting
checked
to
it
stay
out
in the loop.
because I like Scooby-Doo, so I probably would have checked it out. After the first 1 minute, after the opening lines, I still remember them. Like, do you remember the opening lines? Like,
They
it's all about
engraved.
white men and like it's my mystery. Like after those opening lines, I'd be like, okay, X, Y.
Yeah.
Let's watch something else.
I don't think you'll ever stop it completely. I think people have a right to hate watch.
I think everybody should be open to at least watching some of it. Because, like, even something like this National Treasure show, I know I'm going to hate it. But I'm going to go in there, maybe.
Yeah, it's a morbid curiosity. You want to just see
Maybe I
how
might
bad.
like it, maybe. But no Nicolas Cage, no me. Like,
Yeah. So the calls to stop hate watching, I don't think will ever work. And again, hate watching does not give the people what they want. Doesn't give the creators what they want. Okay, and that's the kind of argument where if you hate watching it, you're giving them the view. That's what they want. They win. Therefore, I disagree. They get the view, but what they also get is someone who hates the show as a result, and then will tell other people, and they won't let won't show their kids. They won't buy the merchandising, and the show will still die. Like Rings of Power, even if there's an argument that it got relatively high views, right? And I don't really think it did, but even if we go that way, most of those are people watching it and realizing how crap it is, and season 2 is going to be far less, and it will be remembered
I don't know.
as
I think
a
season
flop.
2 will be more.
See, I think it'll be less.
Because I think a lot of people will be like, maybe, did they change anything? Now, I know that they've come out and they said that we're not changing anything, but I think most people will hope.
They are so much bullcrap. They lied through their teeth with the
Or maybe Amazon might step in and be like, change
season
something.
2 is going to be more book accurate. And you know what they said about season 1? Go back to the book. Go back to the book. Yeah, your version of going to the book is just don't believe anything those snakes say. But those are kind of my thoughts I have on hate watching. Yeah.
That's
I
all.
still think it's. I feel like the Velma show is a perfect example of this. Like, it's got a second season now. Something that had no business getting a second season. Or even getting greenlit. Let's be real here. But, like,
We'll have to
we're in a
see.
world where stuff like this gets greenlit.
Yeah, I think Velma though is going to get the Masters
Of the Universe?
Revelations. Look, maybe I'll be wrong, but I suspect season 2 is going to.
That is the best thing to hope for. That it bombs. That is the best thing to hope for. But it's still like they shouldn't even get to the second season. That's my whole thing. It's like, let them die in the crib.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll have to see. What do you think? Is hate watching bad across the board? What's your views between hate watching and hate reviewing? It'll be interesting to hear your comments. And as always, stay on watch.